Hello, everybody. Suzanne from Ohio here. I'm here this morning with the Bird Kit Fabric Collage lesson number 6. Now, last time I saw you, I showed my fabric collage layout before I had done my overstitching. So I've completed that, and I wanted to show you what that looks like. And I wonder if I can get this up here kind of close. Let me see if I can bring it down a little bit. The stitching turned out really nice. I I simply gave myself a big project. In hindsight, I probably wouldn't take this approach. I would do less stitching and let more of the background fabric on my focal pieces show through. But I was feeling my way through this, and I wanted to get as many colors in there that I could that was appropriate. So I miscalculated. If I'd have done just less of every color, I could have gotten away with less stitching. But nonetheless, it's really turned out nice. And of course, you know what our bird was. That was the first thing we did. And when I mounted him in here among the thistles, I made sure that I tucked all his edges down really tight and using the proper color embroidery thread, although there is another way you could do it. But I wanted him sitting on top of this thistle right here, and some of that thistle coming up on his belly, and some of the blossoms coming up on the belly. So I accomplished that, and when you look at it from a distance, it's very appropriate. Now, if you're stitching, I want you to think about your contrast and your values. My sister made a comment the other day, and we were talking about the logistics of it. Because I did my bird so bright, I needed the same value scale back here in the other elements. And it turned out great. So I always am challenged by value, always afraid of getting something too dark, too light, or too much contrast. But really, the truth is, there's no such thing. But nonetheless, the value of the color in the bird and the values of the color in the thistles are just fine. And the background is a little bit more diminished, and it should be. And like I said before, I laid down a couple pieces of lace, although none of it ended up showing a lot. But what it did was separate that busy background from the foreground so that your eye, your brain, can determine what this is. If it's too confusing, then it's hard for the viewer to sort it all out. But lesson number 6. So here's where I'm at in this. I decided to go with my almost cattywampus edging, and I am in the process right now, and you can see it right here, of stitching. Let me get it in the right place. Of stitching around twice with a running stitch. And because this piece is a loose artistic feel to it, I'm not caring if that line is totally perfectly straight. I'm going to go around the edge twice, and then that's it. What I did was, and you'll be interested in this part, I chose that purple to lay it on. I chose the purple, and a little bit of it shows through in the front like a border. And I left that kind of cattywampus too. I want the whole thing to have that more organic, natural feel to it. But with doing all the stitching, as hard as I tried, it did pucker up my fabric a little bit. So in order to give this some stability and stretch this piece back out, what I did was back it with a piece of very heavy felty pellon. Now here's a piece of this product, and you can see how stiff it is. and I just happened to have enough of it. I had picked it up at the thrift store, and it came in just perfectly handy for this project. So for starters, I laid it down where I wanted to, and then I just put a few stitches here and there in the center of the design to hold it in place while I stitched around it. And it's going to be just perfect. All right, so to cover that up in the back, what I did was I chose this cute little novelty print kind of thing, and I ripped it so it will just barely be on the inside edges of the purple. And then I'll go around the edge with a invisible running stitch, and that will be my backing. Now to hang it, in case there's somebody that hasn't seen this method, what you do is create two little triangles. And let me show you. You have a square, whatever size square you need. And I just happened to pick up this scrap, so these are 5 by 5. And you position them in the corner, left and right on the top of your piece. And as you stitch the backing in place, you also stitch these in place. And then this becomes your hanging mechanism here. And all I have right here right now is this paintbrush. But what you do is just slide a little bamboo skewer up, and it catches in those two triangles. And then all you have to do is have one small tack or nail or thumbtack right there, and then you've got a nice hanging system for your piece. So there she is, all stitched up, and let's see, what am I forgetting to tell you? Oh, in the beginning, if you remember right, I had laid down a piece of tulle over top of the background. And I also stitched all the way around on the sewing machine this little white thread you can see right here. I did that to just stabilize the whole thing and keep the tulle in place while I was working on it. And now that I'm to this stage, as soon as I get all the way around this piece 2 times with my running stitch, I will pick that sewing machine thread out of there. I'm hoping I can do it. I think I can from the back. From the front, I'd probably be picking into my tulle, and I don't want to do that. But that tulle doesn't even show. However, I have used it many times to accomplish things like shading, excuse me, and different color tones. And I have quite the collection of tulle that I had bought at the thrift store over time. Like I could have added more blue tulle up here and made the sky even bluer. But on a piece this busy that has its own focal point, there was no need for all that. And again, this is not a fine arts piece. It's more of a loose creative stitch piece. And I wanted to hold back. There's so many things you could do, but you have to ask yourself at a certain point, does it need it? Does it need anything more? And if the answer is not really, if it's not really going to contribute to the overall look of the finished piece, maybe don't do it. All right? Now, the only other thing I did while I was over stitching was these were very loose, twisted pieces of fabric here that form the stems to the thistles. And all I did was go over them a second time with a different color thread and tighten them down a little bit, almost like couching. And let's see, what else did I do? Okay, I barely stitched down the leaves. And that was a case where I realized I could put all those thorny little points on my thistle, but does it need it? No, or on the leaves. No, it didn't need it. As a matter of fact, this contrast of this dark green leaf and the solidness of it kind of gives your place a rest, or your eye a place to rest, because all of these lines, these stitch lines, are really commanding your attention. So it's kind of nice to see these solid leaves in the composition. All right, I hope you're stitching along with me. And by the next time I see you, it will just be simply a show and tell about my finished piece, which will be very quick. And then the next stage will be for me to go on to the next bird. And I haven't chosen which one to do yet. I'm thinking that tufted titmouse because I love those little darn things. And it would be all in shades of gray. And I just think that would be so pretty. And I was thinking about setting it in a setting of pine branches. So there's a thought for you. And I hope you've enjoyed this. If you're following along or doing your own thing with fabric collage, let me know. And on my last video, I said, if you're watching and you enjoyed what you saw or got a little helpful hint, leave me a thumbs up and a comment. And please tell me where you're from. I just love to hear where people are from. And I've had some good response from that. And I just enjoy it so much. I'm almost thinking about making a map or getting a United States map. But I have people from Nuremberg, Germany, and Canada, and other places that have commented. So I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll just make a list. I just think it's so fun. We're all connected, you know. And it's nice when we reach out to each other, make ourselves known. It takes a little vulnerability, doesn't it? But it's so nice to realize there's people all the way around the world. And aren't we all the same in a way? Especially us creators. All right, everybody, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you again real soon.